at 0942 local time, in full daylight, a Russian fighter rolls in on 24 slow contacts crawling toward Moscow's southeastern suburbs. 24 targets, tracking at roughly 100 miles an hour, holding formation like they don't know they've been seen. The pilot has flown this profile before. He lines up the first pass and starts working through them. What he cannot see from the cockpit is that the formation was sent to be shot down, and that inside 20 minutes, the densest air defense ring on the planet will fire the opening shot of the attack it is trying to stop. This is not the story of drones that beat a defense. It's the story of a defense that emptied itself. Every missile rail, every ammunition belt, every guidance channel around Moscow's southeastern approach was drained on schedule, by design, against targets that were never the point. The ring didn't break, it was spent, and then it fired the opening shot for the other side. The things in that formation cost $55,000 each. The FP1 is plywood and composite over a 2-cylinder engine, a modular 60 to 120 kilogram warhead, and a range near 1,600 kilometers. Ukraine builds roughly 100 of them a day. Against that, the fighter above is closing with R-77s, and every one of those missiles costs more than the airframe it erases. Below, on the ring's inner line, sits a K-52 worth $16 to $25 million. The arithmetic that governs the next 20 minutes is simple, and nobody on the defending side gets to change it. How much are you willing to spend to kill something that costs about as much as a used car? And what happens when the answer runs out? 30 kilometers out, an air defense officer reaches past the guns. He turns on noise instead. Broadband jamming floods the satellite navigation band across every approach corridor into the southeastern suburbs. Every corridor except one. A drone flying on GPS or GLONASS holds a course by continuously comparing its position against a signal from orbit. Cut that signal and the airframe doesn't fall out of the sky, it drifts, hunting for a fix, and the only place it finds one is the sector left deliberately clean. Change every street sign in a city except the ones on one road, and the traffic routes itself exactly where you want it, with no roadblock and no argument. 24 contacts bend south into open ground, into a box the defender chose in advance. Not a single shot has been fired yet. This is not interception, it's herding, and it works perfectly, right up until it doesn't. The high work goes to the MiG-35, a 4++ generation multi-role fighter whose radar can track dozens of contacts out to about 100 kilometers, feeding R-77s with a reach near 110. The R-77 is active radar guided. The missile carries its own seeker and switches it on in the terminal phase, which means the fighter doesn't have to hold the target illuminated all the way in. Launch, break, hunt the next one. Against another fighter, that's a decisive advantage. Against an FP1, it's an accounting problem. The drone flies at roughly 160 kilometers an hour. The MiG cannot fly that slowly and stay in the air, so every engagement is a single high-speed pass, followed by a wide reversal to come back around. Call it 30 seconds of empty sky per kill. One pass, one drone, one missile that does not come back. A Formula 1 car chasing bicycles through a school zone kills bicycles, but it kills them one at a time, and it burns a Formula 1 car's fuel doing it. The score climbs. The number that actually matters, missiles remaining, falls faster. Underneath, the K-52 Alligator takes the low tier, and here the geometry finally favors the defender. Coaxial contra-rotating rotors, no tail rotor to bleed power, cruise around 260 kilometers an hour, and a maximum near 310. Fast enough to run down a drone, slow enough to stay with it. The armament is a fixed-mount 30mm 2A42 cannon with about 470 rounds on the belt, aimed by pointing the aircraft. Pulling alongside a car on the highway and matching its speed is easy. Hitting it from a passing jet is not. Russian crews have logged multiple drone kills per sortie with that gun, and Ka-52s have been documented intercepting drones over Moscow before. The method works. What it cannot do is scale. 470 rounds against a saturating wave is a finite belt, and when it runs dry, the aircraft turns for rearm. There's a second cost, and it's the reason the ground stays quiet. Stacking a jet, a helicopter, and gun batteries into the same block of sky is a documented failure mode. Russian friendly fire has already downed a Ka-52 and a K-29 during counter-drone missions, so while the helicopters work, the guns below hold. Nobody on the ground is shooting. Roughly 40 drones go down. Rails dry, belts empty, aircraft outbound to rearm, and not one Russian airframe lost. On paper, it's a clean sweep. Then the wreckage tells on itself. Half the wave carried no warhead at all. They were decoys with radar reflectors. Corner surfaces engineered to return an echo far larger than the plywood behind them, painting a $100,000 signature onto a target worth a fraction of that. A vending machine stocked with empty boxes takes your money exactly the same way a full one does, and it keeps taking it until the last bill goes in and the door swings open. 8 kilometers back, the second wave crosses into the suburbs, into sky that has just been swept clean and left unattended. The Luti is a different weapon wearing similar clothes. 4.4 meters long, a 6.7 meter wingspan, 250 to 300 kilograms, a 50 to 75 kilogram warhead, a piston engine driving a pusher propeller behind the tail, fixed landing gear, and a range between 1 and 2,000 kilometers. What matters is the guidance. It navigates on an inertial platform corrected by image correlation against a stored map. It measures its own motion and checks the ground beneath it against a picture it memorized before takeoff. It never listens for a satellite. Every jammer around Moscow is transmitting into a receiver that was never installed. The signs were switched for a driver who isn't reading them, which leaves point defense. The Pantsir S-1 NATO SA-22 Greyhound 12 50-76 missiles ready on a 20-ton chassis, plus two 30mm 2A38M cannons with 1,400 rounds, an engagement envelope from 1.2 to 20 kilometers and 15 meters to 15,000, missiles running near Mach 3.5. And then the number that decides the morning. The acquisition radar detects and tracks up to 40 targets. The multifunction tracking radar handles 3, and the system guides a maximum of 4 missiles at once. Seeing everything is not shooting at everything. 24 contacts on the screen, 4 channels to fire through, a switchboard with 2 working lines, and 24 phones ringing. The rest simply proceed. The ones that do get engaged meet the wrong warhead. 20 kilograms of fragmentation on a proximity fuse was designed to shred an aircraft's skin, hydraulics, and fuel lines. A bear trap built for something large closes on something narrow, and the jaws pass on either side of it. Fragments punched through fabric and plywood and hit nothing that was holding the airframe together. Then 12 rails run dry and the turret goes into reload. Seconds in which the most advanced short-range system in the ring is a spectator. Last line is men on foot with 9K38 Iglas, a 10.8 kilogram missile in a 17.9 kilogram system, 5.2 kilometers of reach, a 3.5 kilometer ceiling, a 1. 17 kilogram warhead carrying 390 grams of explosive, peak velocity 570 meters per second, dual channel infrared seeker that needs about 3 seconds to lock. It fails 3 separate ways in the same minute. First, minimum arming distance. The seeker needs room after leaving the tube before the weapon is live, and a drone already inside that distance cannot be touched. Second, the reload cycle. Drop the tube, seat a missile, reacquire, lock, fire. Runs around 13 seconds, and a drone is inside the envelope for a few, working a bolt-action rifle against a swarm of bees. Third, and worst, the seeker hunts heat, and the refinery is now burning behind the drones, looking for a candle flame against a bonfire. The drones that got through are covering the ones still coming. Igla hit probability drops to roughly 0. 24 against countermeasures, and a burning refinery is the largest infrared countermeasure available. Then the defense starts scoring for the other side. A steel net catches a Liuti at 15 meters, a genuine intercept the kill the whole system was built for, and the burning wreckage drops into the facility and starts a ground fire. Catching a live grenade counts as a catch right up to the moment it goes off in your hand, and a Panzer crew tracking dirty rushes a short-range shot. The missile passes the drone and buries itself in one of the refinery's own fuel tanks. None of that was luck, and none of it required anything to malfunction. Every element was already in the air before the first trigger was pulled. The magazine spent on bait, the sensor blinded by a fire, the previous wave lit, the warhead built for the wrong target, the guidance channels capped at 4 by a design decision made years earlier. Moscow's ring did exactly what its doctrine told it to do in the correct order with competent crews, and doing so is what opened the corridor. The ring didn't break, it was spent, and then it fired the opening shot for the other side. That's the part that doesn't stay local. The Luti accounts for something like 80% of successful Ukrainian strikes on Russian oil infrastructure, and it has already reached a target 1,700 kilometers from the border. This isn't an incident to be patched. It's a repeatable campaign model, and the ring cannot be reinforced out of it, not until defending a refinery costs less than attacking one, which at $55,000 a decoy is not a threshold anyone is close to crossing. And if Moscow thought that was the worst morning it could have, there's one thing Russia never saw coming at all. That one's on your screen right now. Thanks for watching.